It's titled Abundance. Excuse me, Abundance. Now, in the last couple of weeks, I spent quite a bit of time researching spiritual websites to see what people were teaching about abundance. I was surprised to find several blogs with excerpts from Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, but none of them referenced his words referring to Jesus' teaching regarding the spiritual laws of abundance. Like Eckhart Tolle, I believe the mastermind Jesus gave us the most profound teaching regarding manifesting that which we desire to receive. Do not credit him for his contribution to almost all of spiritual metaphysics foundation's teaching on abundance and manifesting is most likely due to his being identified as Christian. He was not a Christian. From what we know of him, he was culturally Jewish, but his teachings were spiritual, not religious. The ability to manifest abundance has nothing to do with our religion or lack of religion, but everything to do with consciousness. We have inherent within us a prosperity consciousness. We just must awaken it. Nothing you will find in Eckhart Tolle's book is new, and as a matter of fact, if you go back to my archive pages on my website, you will find the same teaching, only most likely in different words. I am presenting these words from Eckhart Tolle because sometimes we just need to read or hear the same message, but with different wording. So from his chapter 7, titled Abundance, we can read, "You who think you are, who you think you are, is almost intimately connected with how you see yourself treated by others. Many people complain that others do not treat them well enough. I don't get any respect, I don't get any attention, I don't get any recognition, I don't get any acknowledgement, they say. I'm being taken for granted. When people are kind, they suspect hidden motives. Others want to manipulate me, take advantage of me, nobody loves me." You've heard those things. Who they think they are is this: I am a needy little me whose needs are not being met. This basic misperception of who they are creates dysfunction in all their relationships. They believe they have nothing to give and that the world or other people are withholding from them what they need. Their entire reality is based on an illusory sense of who they are. It sabotages situations and mars all their relationships. In other words, it's an unreal sense of who they are. If the thought of lack, whether it be money, recognition, or love, has become part of who you think you are, you will always experience lack. Rather than acknowledge the good that is already in your life, all you see is lack. Acknowledging the good that is already in your life is the foundation of all abundance. The fact is, whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from the world. You are withholding it because deep down you think you are small and that you have nothing to give. So try this for a couple of weeks and see how it changes your reality. Whatever you think people are withholding from you, praise, appreciation, assistance, loving care, and so on, give it to them. If you don't have it, just act as if you had it, and it will come. Then soon after you start giving, you will start receiving. You cannot receive what you don't give. You cannot receive what you don't give. Outflow determines inflow. Whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you already have, but unless you allow it to flow out, you won't even know that you have it. This includes abundance. The law that outflow determines inflow is expressed by Jesus in this powerful image. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. Excuse me. The source of all abundance is not outside you. It is a part of who you are. So hard for so many of us to believe. However, start by acknowledging and recognizing abundance without. See the fullness of life all around you, the warmth of the sun in your skin, the display of magnificent flowers outside a florist shop, biting into a succulent fruit or getting soaked in an abundance of water falling from the sky. The fullness of life is there at every step. The acknowledgement of that abundance that is all around you awakens the dormant abundance within you. Then we begin to let it flow out. When you smile at a stranger, there is already a minute flow of energy. You become a giver. Ask yourself often, what can I give here? How can I be of service to this person or this situation? You don't need to own anything to feel abundant. Although if you feel abundant consistently, things will almost certainly come to you. Abundance comes only to those who already have it. It sounds almost unfair, but of course it isn't. It is a universal law. Both abundance and scarcity are inner states that manifest as your reality. In other words, they're the state of our mind. Jesus put it like this: for to the one who has, more will be given, and from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Even what he has will be taken away. Now, these words were from Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. And you can go to Amazon.com and put in Eckhart Tolle or A New Earth, and you can find that book if you want to read the full book. This was taken from Chapter 7, which was titled Abundance. Now, as I said before, he's not giving us anything new. He's just given us something we already know, but in different words. Just as Jesus didn't give us anything new, he just gave us what Plato gave us, but in different words. For to the one who has, more will be given, and from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Now, he's not talking about just money here. He's talking about how we feel about ourselves. Are we a healthy-minded person to believe that we have something? Do we value the things that we have? Sometimes people get so caught up in comparisons that they forget to value what they have. If somebody driving around in a Ford Edge looks at somebody in a Porsche SUV and said, oh my gosh, compared to that Porsche SUV, my little Edge is just a cheap little old car. Well, that comparison holds you down, pulls you back from striving and achieving whatever is necessary to achieve in order to have that Porsche SUV, if that's what you choose to have. So Eckhart Tolle gave us some great wisdom in aligning our thought with the infinite intelligence that is available to all of us. And to many people, too many people, need to move from being needy to being grateful. And this can be challenging for some people, especially those who habitually speak to that which is more negative than positive. So let's look at these words from the great Dr. Joseph Murphy, one of the great teachers of the 19th century. Dr. Murphy wrote the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, which opened so many people up to the power of mind, the law of mind. Remember, those words from Jesus, that's the law of mind. For those who have, that's the law of my mind that I have. If I have that law in my mind established correctly, and I always have something to give, and in my giving I shall receive. So let's look at these words. This is from Dr. Joseph Murphy. It says, we read in the Scriptures, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Jesus tells us this kingdom is within us, just as we understood from Jesus' words and from Eckhart Tolle's rendition of Jesus' words. Jesus tells us this kingdom is within us. This kingdom of heaven or harmony is within every one of us. Infinite wisdom, divine intelligence, and infinite power are available to all people, everyone, because God is within each and every one of us, and God is the very life of us. Anyone can prove to themselves that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is right here now. Jesus saw it and lived in it. We are colorblind. That is why we do not see it. The blindness is due to ignorance and fear. We are blinded by centuries of false beliefs, centuries of superstition, centuries of creeds and dogmas of the religious nation. The truth is so shrouded by false dogmas that we have created God in the heaven of our making. God is to us what we believe God to be. Mankind, has achieved a horrendous creature in the skies. He visualizes a God of caprice and vengeance, or an inscrutable being who sends wars and plagues, etc. We create our own hell and our own heaven based upon our concept of God. Anyone can prove that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's from Dr. Joseph Murphy. This was written many, many, many years ago. What does he mean we're colorblind? I would say we're blinded. Mankind has been blinded by the false idea. God, there's only one life. That life is God. That life is within us and every living thing. It is spirit, it's intelligence, it's power, it's infinite, and it's infinitely individualized in all forms of life. And we are one of those forms of life. So Dr. Murphy goes on to write, let me tell you the story of a young girl who proved this. She was living with a father who came home drunk every night and sometimes treated her brutally. She lived in constant fear of her father. She kept house for him. Due to frustration, her face was covered with acne. Remember, everything mental causes something physical. So whenever someone has acne on their face, we know there's anger or fear within their heart, their mind, and their soul. So she lived in constant fear of her father. She kept house for him, and due to frustration, her face was covered with acne. We are not living with people. We are living with our concept of them. Realizing this truth, the girl, in meditation, closed her eyes and dwelt on the God power within her. She no longer clothed her father in the garment or mood of a drunkard. Instead, she saw a loving, kind father who had perfect balance, perfect poise, and perfect equilibrium. She clothed him in righteousness, and her judgment was a robe and a diadem, which means that she saw her father as he ought to be. The fact that her father was drinking heavily meant that he was seeking escape to conceal an inferiority complex or a subjective sense of loss. In other words, he was trying to run away from himself. This girl spoke the word which healed her father. She spoke the word which healed her father. She relaxed her whole body, closed her eyes, and began to pray to herself. How would I feel if my father were loving, kind, and peaceful? She dwelt on the solution, which generated a mood of peace, of confidence, and joy within her. This was clothing him in righteousness. Her judgment was a robe and a diadem. When you pass judgment, you come to a decision. It is a final verdict, and you are the judge passing the judgment. As I hear, I judge. Her verdict was an inner hearing or feeling, wherein she saw her father smiling, she saw him happy, and she saw him joyous. She imagined he was telling her how wonderful he felt, and that he had found peace, and he had found balance, and he had found poise. She also heard him telling her how wonderful she was. She thrilled to the fact that her father was healed and made whole. He wore a seamless robe, as it's described in the Holy Scriptures. No holes, no patches, and no seams. This means she meditated on the mood of love and peace and oneness with her ideal. All doubts and fears were absent. Judgment as the robe, judgment as the diadem, means she gave beauty for ashes, which signifies she saw beauty in her father and felt it. Beauty was expressed on the screen of space. After 1 week of prayer or treatment, her father was completely healed. Moreover, he was a changed man. His attitude was completely transformed, and they are devoted to each other. She proved the kingdom of heaven, that is, the harmony and peace, is at hand now, just as the mastermind Jesus said. So what are we afraid of? If God be for us, who can be against us? The thing you fear does not exist. It does not exist in reality. Your mind has established something that is untrue. Your mind has established something that is causing you to fear something that's not real. False evidence appearing real. So let's look at this effective prosperity prayer. Since we're talking about the great Dr. Joseph Murphy, he wrote this. And let's think about these words. If you're listening to this program, just close your eyes for a moment and just listen to these words and take these words into your mind as the truth. I know there is only one source, the life principle, from which all things flow. It created the universe and all things therein contained. I am a focal point of the divine presence. My mind is open and receptive. I am a free-flowing channel for harmony, for beauty, for guidance, for wealth, and the riches of the infinite. I know that health and wealth and success are released from within me and appear outside of me. I am now in harmony with the infinite riches within and without, and I know these thoughts are sinking into my subconscious mind and will be reflected on the screen of space called my life experience. I wish for everyone all the blessings of life. I am open and receptive to riches, spiritual, mental, and material, and they flow to me in avalanches of abundance. In avalanches of abundance. So think about those words. So what we're doing in those words is we're affirming something. In the Bible, it tells us if we name it, we claim it. But we need to name it in a way that stills our mind and eliminates any fear or doubt from our mind. And sometimes that means we have to use words that are different than the words that we use in our day-to-day conversation. But we have to get back to who do we think we are, because who you think you are is also intimately connected with how you see yourself treated by others. We have to get back from seeing ourselves as needy, somebody that needs somebody that needs something. Get ourselves back to believing that we have. Think about those words of the mastermind Jesus, give and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. You want to give your gratitude to the infinite power, presence, and intelligence that created you, that individualized its life in you, as you, for you. We want to give of ourselves, give of our heart, our mind, and our soul to all those people around us. It doesn't mean we have to give material things. Sometimes we just have to give our most wonderful thoughts about someone. We have to see them even better than they see themselves. For to the one who has, more will be given. This is the law of mind. And from the one who has not, even what they have will be taken away. Even what they have will be taken away. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Those are the words of the mastermind Jesus, and those are the words echoed through all metaphysical literature and writings, and through all the speeches and sermons of the great mystics of our time. I don't know if you could call them sermons, but lessons. Let's look at these words by one of the master metaphysicians of the 19th century, who was one of my first metaphysical teachers, the great Dr. Robert Pitzer. He says, God has endowed you with creative power. God, infinite intelligence, spirit, power, has endowed you with creative power. Therefore, you cannot spend your time on the receiving end waiting for things to happen. You are a co-creator with the divine, with the infinite. Your thinking and feeling must be unified with the mind and the love the power, the presence, the spirit, the intelligence of God. There is no substitute for spiritual initiative in every phase of your human expression. Utilize the power that the infinite has given you. The right of choice must not be restricted to a rejection of what you do not want, but must find its full concentrated force in creating what you do want. You can create the kind of world that you want to live in, but only you can do it. No one else can do it for you. So we must think about those words. Think about those words from that powerful prosperity prayer that the great Dr. Joseph Murphy shared with all of us. And we'll go back and look at that again. He says it's an effective prosperity prayer by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Let's say this together. See if you can say these words with me and not have a doubt in your mind. I know there is only one source, the life principle from which all things flow. Say those words. I know there is only one source, the life principle from which all things flow. It created the universe and all things therein contained. I am a focal point of the divine presence. Say it. Say it out loud as you can. I am a focal point of the divine presence. My mind is open and receptive. I am a free-flowing channel for harmony, for beauty, for guidance, for wealth, and the riches of the infinite. I know that health and wealth and success are released from within me and appear in my experience. I am now in harmony with the infinite riches within and without, and I know these thoughts are sinking into my subconscious mind and will be reflected on the screen of space in the world in which I live. I wish for everyone all the blessings of life. I am open and receptive to riches, spiritual, mental, and material, and they flow to me in avalanches of abundance. Excuse me. My mouth got really dry there. It's a hot, humid day here in Palm Springs. So let's go back and rethink those words once more from the Mastermind Jesus. About giving. Giving. We must learn to give. If you are withholding from the world, you are withholding something because deep down you think you are small and that you have nothing to give. But we must learn to give. Give, give. These are the words of Jesus. These are the words of the Mastermind Jesus, not the Christian Jesus, not the Jesus of religion, but the Jesus that understood, that revealed the power of the presence and the spirit and the intelligence that reigns supreme and throughout the world, that creates through us, as us, and for us all the good that we desire to experience. Say, give and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Think about those words. Give and it shall be given to you. And even more importantly, for the one who has, more will be given, and from the one who has not, even what they have will be taken away. Even what they have that will be taken away. I don't want to discount those words of the great Dr. Bitzer, because Dr. Bitzer founded the Hollywood Church on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood and paid off his 20-year mortgage in 8 years. And when he left this planet Earth, transformed into something new, into the next life, and made that transition into the new life, he left a great wealth to that church. He wrote, God has endowed you with creative power. Therefore, you cannot spend your time on the receiving end waiting for things to happen. You are a co-creator with God. Your thinking and feeling must be unified with God's mind and God's love. Now, when he says the word God, he means the infinite power, presence, spirit and intelligence that permeates all things in this universe in which we live and the universes beyond this universe. There is no substitute for spiritual initiative in every phase of your human expression. Utilize the power that God has given you, the right of choice. The right of choice must not be restricted to a rejection of what you do not want, but must find its full concentrated force in creating what you do want. Underline that in your mind.